Folks, we have a special announcement. We are officially going to hand the show over to Allan Cooper. As you know, it's called AC On Air. And so it's now going to be called the Allan Cooper On Air Show starting next week.
Well, you threw me into that one. I didn't know I had to get into broadcasting, but yeah, let's run with that, mate. That sounds good.
There you go. That's really good. Hey, we got a good show lined up for you today.
20 years into the internet for the auto industry.
To me, that's the biggest change in what's going on.
Allan Cooper, how are you today? It is great to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to be here, mate. Thanks for the opportunity to have a chat with you.
So Allan, unlike any guest I've ever had, logged on an hour early today. And he's like, I'm ready to go. Great. I'll be up in an hour. So I said, hey, look at the bright side. At least now you have purchased yourself or earned yourself an extra hour into your day. Now we've got some comments on the board here noticing your Australian accent. But you're in Southern California and you've been there for quite some time. So I love your story about how you got started in the automotive industry, because it was kind of happenstance. And I think you were new to the States, right?
You know, we just saw that the internet was an opportunity to get in and have the transparency with customers, which we were already delivering, old school. And we did pretty good at it. Brought in a partner. We were the first two salesmen in the country to share commissions. We worked together, and no matter how many hours, how many days, how many customers, we just did a 50-50 split. So two of us working together were like four people. Long story short, we were selling 200 new cars a month when I left it in 2000. And a lot of that was factory orders, because we'd had a lot of repeat sales and the loyalty that we generated there and the referral business. Back in those days, a 3-4 week turnaround for a factory order for the very car that you wanted, the perfect car. If it could be built and you wanted it, we'd build it, deliver it to you at the house.
Mm-hmm.
You at work, ideally. That's where we wanted, because we wanted that exposure. And that just self-propagated itself into a whole new era of delivering cars on trucks, never having customers come to the dealership, and we were looked at as pariahs. But that's what everybody talks about today, right?
I'm thinking that as you're talking, there's so much, I guess, hyper focus right now on the consumer experience. You got to have the consumer experience. And here you are saying, look, 30 years ago, you had to do that too. Did we get away from it? Or is this just one of those things where just because it's new to one person doesn't mean it's new to the world or the industry?
And your best customers, you don't have to market to them. It's the acquisition of new clientele that you need, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I still go back to the same fact, mate. You've got your DMS, you should be using a CRM, and you should be working it. And there's too many people I see that don't work their CRM. What's the value of a customer that might buy 6 cars in 10 years from you just for the one person? But what about the family of vehicles?
Exactly.
And how much money are they spending in the service department? Why do you want to tear their head off on the purchase of the car at the front end and then ignore the $40,000 that they might have spent in service over the last 10 years?
Here we are. I've got the Reviver Auto website up. Can you spend a moment to introduce what Reviver is and how you got involved?
It's the last piece of equipment on a car that hasn't evolved until today. The plate's 125 years old in its design. It was invented by the French, actually. And it's still manufactured on industrial revolution machinery, a stamped metal press. So everything's antiquated about it. And Neville Boston, the founder of the company, his CEO, he had the vision to take this to the next level. He was working with the California DMV, building out a new UI solution for consumers to have a more streamlined process for registration. Asked the question to all the different authorities, DMV, law enforcement, Department of Transport, could we have a digital license plate? And they said, well, let's work through that. So they did, sort of in conjunction. It wasn't a matter of let's build a digital license plate and try and take it to the world and say this is what we have. So going through that, here it is. That's what you're looking at there right now on the screen. It's a digital license plate. It's an e-ink display, bistable, monochromatic e-ink. It's essentially a Kindle. Everything is processed over there. We provision the license plate number to the plate when a vehicle's sold, new, used, or you have a vehicle now and you want a digital license plate. You go to the dealers, you buy it, and everything is published to that screen.
To wrap this up, there's a couple questions that came through. We have some Canada listeners asking if you know how that works, and you've already answered. When you're driving, it's just a plate. It's a digital display, but it's just a plate. It doesn't really change anything. It has a nice aesthetic touch. It has some features and benefits that are good for the consumer and for the state when the vehicle is parked. To recap, it's a $799 installation, which includes 1 year of connectivity. Does that mean after that you pay an annual fee for that connectivity, and what is that fee?
Yeah, I want to clarify something. Just going back to it's $799 for the plate with 1 year connectivity. There still is the installation. Any law that applies to a metal license plate applies to this, and every law enforcement agency in California knows about this. They've been given their bulletins, their letters. It's pretty fun. You see them pulling along behind you and watching the plate. You never get pulled over because they know what it is, but they're fascinated by it. We've actually got a couple of police departments here that Galpin, they're calling them about putting these on their vehicles. They want to be at the cutting edge of it. So it's not just the retail consumer, it's the fleet companies, it's the government agencies, it's rideshare companies. You know, we've got people coming from everywhere.
Well, there you go, folks. Allan Cooper, Coop, as he's known by his closer friends. Thanks again, Allan. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here live.
Thanks, Ryan. Cheers. Cheers.
Thank you, Allan.
Bye-bye.